Hello YouTube. Put together this review and demo of Rekordbox's Lighting Mode. This came out about 6 months ago, but there hasn't been a whole lot of stuff online about it other than Pioneer's own tutorials. So we're going to take a look at the hardware first and then move on to the software. So the hardware that you purchase it's actually very nice. It's solidly built. It has a USB input on one side and then a 3-pin DMX on the other side. There's a single LED that lights up once it is connected to Rekordbox. It's pretty heavy. It's very well built. Here's a comparison of the American DJ unit. It's the OEM is Das Light. You know, it looks like a toy compared to the Pioneer unit. It's you know, it's a tiny little chip inside in a big box, whereas the Pioneer has a lot of weight to it and a great finish. Definitely worthy for travel. I typically use this unit with a wireless DMX transmitter, so I can not worry about cords everywhere. To enable lighting mode, you'd go into Preferences, click Lighting, and then choose Enable Lighting Function. You can set up multiple venues, so you can have different rigs for different venues. I currently only have one set up. The key to using Rekordbox lighting is to make sure that phrase analysis is enabled. To do this, click on Settings and choose Phrase Analysis as well as Key. Another useful tidbit is to enable the phrase view on your decks so you can make corrections. So let me drag a new track from the record pool onto a deck. And it's currently analyzing the track. And I'll just put that in my unsorted playlist here. So we're finally done recording here. I'm going to drag the track onto a deck. And it looks pretty good. It got my intro. It has the kind of the build up. First drop, kind of build up again, second drop. Down is kind of like what it calls like, I don't know, a break maybe, and then the outro. So I think it got it pretty well on. I'm going to set up my hot cues that I normally do. So the first one is kind of the first beat. And then I'm going to label that as the vocal, which I like to use as yellow. Build up, build up. Perfect. And I'm going to make that my drop. Oops. Let's put quantize on. And I always label my drop as the second hot cue. That way if I'm using an old CDJ and I only have 3 hot cues, my middle hot cue is always the drop. In fact, I'll actually only tag the second drop here because most tracks I never play all the way through. I just play them kind of 90 seconds, 2 minutes of it. So that's first drop, that's second drop, and here's my outro. And I like to label those red. Alright, so got my hot cue set up. Next, I'm going to double check the phase. It seems to have got it perfectly. This is all up. The chorus is correct. Up. It labeled this break as down, which is perfect. It did a great job over there. The only thing I would maybe change is move this over a little bit. The way you do that is you enter your grid edit and just drag that over there. Perfect. So small error here. Looks like it prematurely tagged the drop. So let's move it over 4 beats, and that way your lights will line up nicely. And I wouldn't label all of this as down, maybe just those 4 beats over there. So I'm gonna drag this over here. I can have 4 beats of down, and then I can pick something else. Maybe, you know, maybe chorus 2, just to have something different. And like I said, typically if I play this track, I'm going to start it at A, play the first build up, and as soon as I get to there, I'm actually going to skip to that hot cue and then just play the rest of the track. My goal, 90 seconds to about 2 minutes. Keeps people engaged, and people have short attention spans. All right, so it looks like it did a pretty good job. It pretty much got it dead on with a few little corrections. So once this is done, it's ready to play out in Rekordbox Lighting. So now that we've analyzed our track, we got our phrases set up, it's time to enter lighting mode. So to do that, go ahead, click lighting, and it takes a couple seconds here. The first time you go into lighting mode, it's going to go over all the fixtures in the library. Pioneer has partnered up with Altabase, who is updating these on a weekly basis, and they're actually quite responsive. I've actually sent them a few generic fixtures, kind of cheap Chinese knockoffs that I've purchased. I've sent them the manuals, and within a week, it's added to the database, which is very nice. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a new fixture. It's going to be an American DJ, so I can either search the list here for American DJ, or I can just type in the name of the fixture. Here we go, Pocket Pro. You'd pick the mode that you have it set up for. I'm using the 11 channel mode, which has less control, and I would just patch that in. Once the device is patched, it will show up on the right hand side, and you would assign it one of many settings. Currently, Rekordbox Lighting supports PARs, bars, moving heads, strobes, a pin spot for a mirror ball, and then and that's really it. Any complex fixture like effects fixtures such as derbies, lasers, fogs machines, none of those are really supported right now, but I would assume they would be added in future updates. So once your device is added in here, it's patched in. Obviously, you make sure that on the actual device, it's set for the same DMX channel. And we can see here it starts at 130 and it ends at 140. A nice little trick is if you click the fixture, you can see the actual light up, which is just tells you that everything is patched in okay. And I will go ahead and remove this light. So the ones I have patched in right now, I have about 6 moving heads, of which I'm only using 4 of them. I have various PARs that I've set up both as a PAR and a bar, just for different types of behavior, and a couple moving heads, and then a couple bars that I use for lighting the table, or even lighting the wall behind me. Once you've patched everything in, verify that the lights are working by clicking through each light and seeing them light up. The next thing to do would be go to macro mapping, and here you could basically choose the type of lighting scenes for each lighting macro. And when Rekordbox analyzes a track, it basically flags it as high, mid, or low, and then it randomly picks one of these types of lighting patterns, whether it's natural, hot, subtle, and so on. If you change these in here, it changes it for every track with that same label. So let's say you really don't like high, subtle, and the chorus just doesn't do it for you. You can go in and pick a different lighting scene and then drag it up to the chorus, and that would change it for every song. And that's pretty powerful because you can change them all at the same time. If you want to get into the nitty-gritty, there's a macro editor, and with this you have very granular control over your lighting. It's loaded up the last song that I had in here, and I'm just gonna hit play. And what you're seeing here is basically, different dimmer curves. Let me pause this. My computer can't seem to keep up. So these are dimmer curves. The bar below it is showing your color, and the dotted line is a strobe. They borrowed a lot of this from SoundSwitch, which I think is a great piece of software. Unfortunately, Pioneer didn't want to partner with them and instead spun off their own lighting module. But they borrowed a lot of the UI from SoundSwitch, which is a good thing. As you're editing the macros, you may notice that the buildup isn't quite what you'd like, so you can change colors. You can, what I like to do is right before a drop, I like to black out all the lights. So when the drop hits, and the drop here is our chorus, which starts right there in the middle of the screen here. I want it to be, I want it to hit pretty hard. So what I like to do is, typically, the few beats before the drop, I would just remove all the color and all the light. So, right before it hits, it goes dark. And that kind of gives a little bit of anticipation, as well as it makes the chorus stand out a little bit better. So I'm just going ahead and deleting the dimmer curves here. There's not a whole lot you can do, with it. For some of the moving heads, you can change patterns by clicking on a moving head fixture, and then right-clicking pattern, hit edit, and you can choose the type of pattern. Currently, there's only a handful, so you can't kind of make your custom patterns, and you can't really point your moving heads at certain places. So mobile DJs will be pretty upset, because a lot of them tend to set up custom positions to highlight, say, a lead table or, a podium for speeches. You can't do any of that here. The other thing that's notably absent is gobos. Currently, there's no support for gobos, or prism, or rotate, really anything fancy. All you're choosing is the dimmer curve, pattern, and color, and that's it. And there you go. There's lighting mode. We're going to switch to, I have a couple demos that I recorded in my garage. It was shot in daylight, so it's pretty bright, but I played a couple different songs here, mostly just the build-ups and then the chorus, just to get an idea of how it works. So here we go. So as you can see in my setup, I have a number of fixtures. I have two pars on the bottom labeled par 1, par 4. I have par 2 and 3 on my T-bar. I have a bar light under the table, and then 4 movers. This is kind of the recommended configuration that's listed in the Rekordbox manual. So let's get to it. Couple demos here, various genres. I did no edits to any of these, with the exception of one song at the end, which I'll explain later. This is the Chainsmokers and Tiesto track that everyone knows. Really fantastic job with the build-up here. Lots of excitement. However, when the drop comes up, it's pretty mellow. You know, this is a great example of a track where I'd go in and change things around.
Tell me who flop, who cop the blue drop, who Jews got pop, who most the doji down to the blue top. The same old pimp, mace, you know ain't nothing changed but my limp. Can't stop till I see my name on the blimp. Guarantee a million sales, pull a level up. You don't believe in Harlem World, double up. We don't play around, it's a bet laid down. Cause didn't know me 91.
We gon' make the perfect sound. But when you go, the music goes. I lose my rhythm, lose my soul. So hear me out before you see the night is over. I want you to know that we gotta carry on. So don't let this be our final song. So don't let this be our final song. So hear me out before you see the night is over. I want you to know that we gotta carry on. So don't let this be our final song. Take us to a higher ground. Here and now, now you can just underneath the kiss of light, it's alright. We gon' make the perfect sound. Ooh, take us to a higher ground. Here and now.
She just wanna do it for the grand. You know, she just want this money in my hand. I'ma give it to her when she dance, dance, dance. She gon' catch a Uber out the Calabasas. She said she too young, don't want no man. So she gon' call her friends, now that's a plan. I just ordered sushi from Japan. Now yo bitch wanna kick it, Jackie Chan.
Doing it for Snapchat.
yes on yes on yes. Say less. Say less. You ain't got, you ain't go. Say less. Yeah. Say less. Hey girl, what it do? If you got friends, cool, bring a few through. No fun if the homies can't have me. R.I.P. Nate Dogg, shit is too true. And you know what I'm down for. Round 2, round 3, and a round 4. Move switch when she knocked at the front door. Next up was the uproar. Yeah, was like a week.
Now I'm following your lead to the bedroom. Let me give you what you need.
Y no te voy a negar.
Estamos claros y ya. No te lo voy a negar. Estamos claros y ya. I don't want her, girl, I want you. Kissing on your neck, leave a tattoo. Oh, you got a damn girl bad news. You don't gotta ask, girl, I'm that dude. Como ella lo mueve, sin parar, sin parar. Girl, you got me faded, I can't even fake it. You know I want you.
Give me the thing, I'll make me rockin' like a dance. Give me the thing, I'll make me rockin' like a dance. Once you do, I'll step it like a dance. Give me the thing, I'll make me light it up.
Shut on your flame to the fire. It's spraying like your name on the fire.
It won't keep us apart. You could bet of all I will run it up, just to get to your heart. If I'm caught in a way, baby, we'll make a way. You could put an ocean between our love. It won't keep us apart. You could put an ocean between our love. You could put an ocean between
So huge track right now, but phase analysis just didn't do the track justice. So what I did, the second time I recorded this, I actually mapped various buttons to my controller, and I mapped a strobe, I mapped a setting called Club, which has really nice lighting effects for the drop, and I also mapped a blackout button, and by hitting these buttons in time, it created a pretty nice effect. Check it out. So there you have it. I hope you guys found this helpful. If you have any questions, leave them below in the comments. Be sure to follow me on social media, on Instagram, for lots of cool clips and photos. Thank you.